Lou Diamond? He sounds like somebody's brother-in-law that won't stop sleeping on the couch.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have the CEO and co-founder of CASTED, the first amplified marketing platform and the only audio and video podcast solution designed for enterprise marketers. After launching a branded podcast for a global marketing tech company, she realized her passion for growing brands through authentic conversations, which is what I love to do. So that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Thrive Loud listeners, Lindsay Tjepkema. Lindsay, how are you today?
I'm good. And hey, kudos to you on the last name. That is not an easy one. So you got like a 10 out of 10 there.
Listeners need to know I asked her to do it for me. I'm not going to try and make it like I came up with it on my own, but I practiced it. So
I was going to give you that one. Yeah.
No need to give that one. I think it's fair enough, but you've got a great story and you're doing something really cool. But before we get to that, I want to do the little rewind, if you could, Lindsay. Lindsay, can you share with the listeners a little bit about how this became your gig?
Sure. So I spent 15, 20 years in B2B marketing. I've seen it from every angle. I've seen it from agency, from corporate, from large company, enterprise, global, down to teeny tiny little boutique. And the common thread throughout my career has been B2B marketing and the fact that the companies with the strongest brands are those that are more human, right? Exactly what we're doing right now. Those that they're seeking to make real connections with their audiences. And so when I was brought in right before starting CASTED to a large global enterprise company to build the brand, to build a content strategy, I sought out to be more human and say, how can we build trust? How can we build relationships? So we did what you're doing. We started a podcast, started having great conversations with internal thought leaders, with customers, with partners, started recording those audio and video, and it worked really well. Just like I'm sure you're finding, it's a great way to connect with people. But from the B2B side, a large company trying to use content like this as part of our global content strategy, there was no software. There was no amount of money that could buy the platform that I needed and that my team needed to be able to collaborate, not only create this content, but publish it, amplify it across other channels, and measure it in a way that actually mattered to the brand. And so, long story short, I left that role to go be the change I wanted to see and started CASTED about 2.5 years ago.
So this is an interesting angle you're taking. So the challenge here, obviously, one-to-one individuals have been spreading their own brand and whatever they need to do, but now you're helping companies do it through this platform. So is the goal to help them get that external message out? That's the main sweet spot that you're playing in?
Yep. So content marketing, brands, sharing thought leadership, connecting with their external audiences in ways that are much richer and more meaningful than typically, words on a page.
All right. So, and I totally get it because it's amplifying, perfect name, the audio messaging, the video messaging, storytelling, if you would, or just using the format that works really well. Give me an example of what this looks like to someone that comes across this brand so we could see what that looks like from the user point of view.
Yeah. So you think about a large B2B company. That's who we work with. Their marketing team is tasked with creating connections, building relationships, building trust with their audience. So they create a lot of content, audio, video, written, and that audio and video content takes typically a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, sometimes a lot of budget. And typically, because of the tools that are available, it's created, it's published, it's sent out to the world. And then it kind of lives in a black box because you can't really do anything with it. You can't really pull it apart. You can't really measure it. You can't access it for use later. You can't search and find what you've already created to use again in another way. So it just kind of goes and lives by itself in its own little black box. And then you're kind of creating all this other content too. So a company would come to us and say, okay, we created this great podcast or this great video series. We say, awesome, upload it into CASTED. We will take care of hosting it, syndicating it, disseminating it for you. We'll also give it a place to live on your website. But then we open up that black box and we say, now here's the fun part with transcription, with clipping, with sharing, with key takeaways, with audiograms, with videograms. The marketer has the opportunity to get in there and do so much more with it to get a much, much larger return on the effort that they put into creating that content in the first place. And then because all that content's in one place, they can go back and search for it again. They can reuse it later, and then they can measure it in ways that really matter to the brand. How's it actually driving real, actual revenue?
So let's talk about where it's being viewed. I'd say you spreading it across social channels, media channels. We all get hit with different forms of advertisements in certain places from that aspect of it. How do you help distribute this content across the messaging, the social sphere, if you would?
Sure. So I don't know where everybody's listening right now. Could be Apple, could be
Spotify, Good Pods, this place,
other random thing.
everywhere.
Yep. Could be anywhere. That's awesome. Those players are great. Those resources are fantastic. But truly, and we do that. So we create an RSS feed. We push to all of those different places. But at the end of the day, in addition to that, I say first and foremost, you should be owning your audience. You should be owning this content on your own website, on your own real estate, if you will. And anytime you have an opportunity to send someone to consume that content, hey, listen to my podcast, listen to this episode, here's a link. That link should be coming back to your own real estate so that you can, so that you get the data and so you can know who's listening, but also so you can own that experience. You can own that brand experience and give people an opportunity to listen and consume that content in a way that you intend for them to, and give them more opportunities to dig deeper into related resources and related content that they wouldn't otherwise have if they're listening somewhere else.
Gotcha. So you'll bounce people from the social channels into the environment that lives within someone's site, within that piece of it. I gotcha.
Yep. So for example, from this conversation, you might pull a clip, put that onto LinkedIn or any other social channel of your choice. Somebody would click on it and come to your site and consume the rest of it, or hop around and consume some other parts of your content.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You left one space to start this on. I love the way you said that. Can you repeat how you said it? It was so good. You wanted to make the change.
I left. Yeah, I want to be the change that I wanted to see.
Usually there's like a tipping point, a pushing point, or something that just clicks and says, I've had enough of that. I need to do this. Yeah. What was that for you?
Oh man, it was a career in B2B marketing where I saw content marketing really kind of come into the scene. Back when we started saying, is this marketing or is this digital marketing? Like when there were two different things. I remember that being a time of immense creativity. And that's why I got into marketing to begin with, was, I get to be creative and I get to connect with people and I get to build relationships on behalf of my brand. But somewhere along the way, that became less about being creative and more about measuring everything. And measuring is great. Measuring is very important. But when it was the thing instead of measuring the thing, that really became frustrating. And so as part of this, I was like, B2B marketing as we know it needs to change. It's become antiquated. It's become outdated. So many more channels are here now. So much more technology is available now. The expectations of our audience has changed, but the playbook hasn't. Like, we're still playing from the same playbook that we started with when I started my career, and something needs to change. And so you were talking about amplified marketing. That's what we're doing. And that was my aha moment. Like, enough is enough. This crazy rat race that we're all living in, where we're trying to measure absolutely every single thing and outrank the competition and serve algorithms before audiences. It's time for a change to get back to being more creative and to provide a platform that helps marketers, serves them as they're being more creative, and says, hey, we've got you with a platform that will help you get more out of that creativity and measure its impact on the business.
The question I have, which is a tough one, and I'm curious to hear this. You're 100% right. Traditional B2B marketers, CMOs for a lot of these companies, if we want to roll it up to that. And there's a lot of other roles, from data science folks to different types of people in marketing that are responsible for different tasks within bigger companies. They're graded on being accountable. They're paid on being accountable. They look at these numbers to understand that. And to your point, they can get swamped with it. And that's all they're thinking about. How do you connect with them in a conversation to get them to understand how powerful a conversation can be?
Oh, how do you cut through the noise? To tell them how to cut through the noise. It's truly, it's all about connection. When you start with connection, and I'm not even saying start with trying to connect. I'm saying like you and I are connecting right now. So you start with literally a connection. You have a conversation and you invite them into it. So instead of saying, how am I going to reach these CMOs? How am I going to reach these marketing leaders? You say, I'm going to have a conversation that I think they're going to be interested in listening to. And I'm going to let them listen in on it. I'm going to let them eavesdrop in on this conversation that they want to hear. I'm going to talk to somebody that they're going to be interested in listening to. We're going to ask questions and have dialogue that they're going to be interested in. And then I'm going to publish it and make it available to them so that they literally can join the conversation. And a beautiful thing happens when you do that is that not only do you get interest and engagement and all that great stuff, you also build trust because they feel like they're a part of that conversation. Like anyone who's listening right now feels a little bit more connected to you and me because they're literally in on our conversation, which is a really cool thing.
So I'm with you. You don't have to, you don't have to preach.
We're both here right now.
You
right?
don't have to preach to the choir, but I'm imagining, and this is where I want to go, like help me give the alternatives, because you're going to run into those guys that can't see past the line, and they're going to be like, well, how do I know that content is going to connect more? So you have, though, I imagine, the ability to enable them to say, here's the great content. We're giving you the platform. Oh, by the way, let's see how the effects and the results have been. Have you been able to see early on here results actually match up to the language that they really understand?
Yes. So we talked about creativity. We talked about, helping marketers be more creative and serving them in doing so. I'm in the CEO role now. I'm on this side of the table. I get it. I need to see results. I need to see what's driving revenue. I need to see more of what's working and less of what's not. So early on, we realized how important that was going to be for the marketer to be able to turn to their CMO or the CEO and say, hey, what we're doing matters. Let me show you. So we actually integrate with CRM to push data. This is why it's so important to own your audience. So when you have people coming to your site and consuming that content, we can say, okay, not only did someone listen to the podcast or did someone watch the video series, but Lou came to our site. It's the fourth time he's been here in the last 3 days. 4 other people from his company did too. They're in this territory. They're connected to this much revenue. And we know that, at this point in the engagement, that his propensity to buy just went up by 20%. So that draws the line, that connects the dots between content marketing and real revenue in a way that I really wish existed, years ago when I was in that seat. So that was really, really important for us to develop from day one. And I'm really excited about that.
CASTED, the name. Share with the listeners why that name.
Oh man. One, it's not actually a word because the past tense of cast is cast.
That's right.
I cast a line, right? So that was kind of fun. And for us, it wasn't, we got started in podcasting and as we've kind of talked about, the vision was always to introduce the future of marketing, not just be a podcast thing. And so we wanted something bigger than podcasting. And also when you cast a vision or you broadcast or you cast a wide net, we wanted to capture that thought. And so it was a fun thing. It was fitting. It's easy to spell. It's easy to remember.
It's really funny. It almost felt like it was a word, and you're 100% right.
Right?
Isn't it right?
We were surprised. We were playing with things and we were like CASTED. And I was like, I don't think that's actually a word, which in our sense is a good thing. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Being a CEO of your own company. I guess let's talk about the thing you love about that component of your job and the thing that is most challenging that you didn't expect to be going into this.
Oh, I'm going to be really trite and say that they're the same thing. So it is always being outside my comfort zone. It is constantly learning. It is constantly growing. That is fun. That's exciting. I'm a voracious learner. I love learning. I love growing. I love asking questions. But it is constant and it is to the extreme. So it's not like, oh, I learned something today. It's like, I learned 56 things last hour about myself, about the people I work with, about this job, about this company, about this industry, about, this venture capital world or startup world. It's really fun. It's really great, especially in hindsight. But when you're in it, constantly being outside your comfort zone it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Lindsay, you have taken a career, followed your passion, trying to solve a huge problem and getting an idea that isn't out there, which is awesome, and getting it off the ground. And also setting up an office while we're doing it. Viewers will get a chance to see the in-between artwork behindhand, which means, by the way, on most days, you are thriving. But we all have days when we're a little off our game, not quite kicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay Tjepkema, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
That's such a good question. And again, I'm going to be really on brand here. Connection. So, and this is something that I've learned, again, being outside my comfort zone, constantly learning. I spend a lot of my life, shouldering it myself, putting it on my back, doing it myself. When the going get tough, put my head down and grind through it. I learned through a coach. I have an executive coach that I met actually before I started CASTED, who taught me and reminds me on the regular that when things get really hard, you need connection more than ever. You need other people. And so I have her, and I have through her a group of peers that all happen to be women that are leading businesses that get it. And that's when I feel like I'm more striving instead of thriving. Yeah. I reach out, and that usually, they usually help set me on my path and help me figure out what's going wrong, build me back up, fill my cup. And that's the best thing.
Love it. Let's do the admin part of the show. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, learn about CASTED, websites, URLs. We will put it all in the show notes, but it always gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
Well, casted.us is our website. The CASTED podcast is a pretty great resource. We're also starting something new called the Amplified Marketing Podcast, which you can learn all things amplified marketing. And we're launching this whole approach, this new approach, the future of B2B marketing around that. So you can catch a bunch of content that we're dropping very soon all around amplified marketing.
Awesome. Lindsay, you ready to go down Fun Street with me? I think we've already been having fun, but are you ready to go down the avenue with me?
I didn't know it was possible to have more of fun than this, Lou.
Well, we'll get ready for Fun Street. All right. We're going to start off first. You shared with me what one of your all-time favorite movies was. Can you share that with the listeners?
Love Actually.
Why does that movie connect so much with you?
I remember seeing it in theaters a billion years ago when it came out. And at the time, that approach to a movie where it's like a whole bunch, you can hear this story and this story and this story and this story, and then you start to see how they connect. At the time, that was a brand new idea that at least I hadn't seen that before. And I love the way the stories are told, and I love that it's all about love and connection. And Chris, we haven't even gone down this path, but I'm obsessed with Christmas time, and it happens at Christmas time. So it's the best. It hits all the cylinders for me.
So now I'll ask the question, because by the way, I love this movie as well for so many reasons. And I'd put it in the rewatchable category in the sense that once it starts, I'm in. Like I could just, it doesn't matter. And in fact, for years, because I did not see it in the theater, I only saw it on cable television or movie channels. And I always missed the beginning. And but it would start and I couldn't get out of it. So my question to you is, of the numerous stories of all these lovely Brits and Americans that are involved here, which of the storylines do you enjoy the most of the 9 storylines that are going on, by the way? I looked this up recently.
The one with the writer, and he goes to a cabin in a place where he doesn't speak the language. And there's this woman who's supposed to be there, like taking care of the house, and they fall in love, but they literally don't speak the same language. And then they go their separate ways. And then they both find out later that they learned each other's languages, just in cases. And I say just in cases all the time. So if you know, you know.
Ah, that's great. Excellent. Well done. Yes. Whatever happened to her? She's a Portuguese actress. And I know that she's been around with it. And the other guy, Colin Farrell, he's had a pretty good career.
Well, I mean,
while, by the way, I'm with you. That is my favorite scene in there. My favorite storyline in there. Mm-hmm. My favorite scene in the entire movie is the confession of the best friend to
the signs. The
dropping the signs. It's one of the more well done played thing, and it's been done in lots of other things ever since over the last 10 years. So it's really good stuff. Mm-hmm. Enough already. Anyway, so moving on here, we're going to do the speed round. And Lindsay,
Okay.
I know your game. You've got the whip, you got the wisdom, you got the energy, the verb, the vibe, and everything.
I'm going to try really hard to keep I'm a talker, so I'm going to cut it down.
So here it goes. The way it's going to work is I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, that make you feel good, that motivate you. Most of them make you thrive.
Okay.
Here we go. Of late, a song that you love to hear or one that pumps you up.
Bridges by Johnny Swim.
Favorite food that is not a dessert.
Hummus.
A favorite dessert.
Ice cream.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Walking, taking walks outside.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Sitting at my computer.
We'll get you a standing desk. If I could snap my fingers, Lindsay, and you can go anywhere in the world, where are you?
Scotland.
Have you been?
I have been.
You have been. Which part of Scotland?
Oh man, the Highlands.
All right, gotcha. Lindsay Tjepkema, this is totally a pleasure. You are my connecting sister from another mister, and I'm glad to have you on the program. I think what you're doing is great. We'll put all the links and everything. Everyone's got to hear her podcast programs as well, and obviously learn what she's doing in taking the B2B space to get casted away. I like it. Really cool stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the program. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.